Hello, welcome back to AJM Learn. Today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the new Squarespace finish layer. So this just gives us a lot more flexibility and how we can control these blocks. So let's get into it. I'll make sure to timestamp everything in the description because this one will be a little bit long. We post videos every week, so subscribe if you like learning new things about Squarespace. Okay, so first let's get into the layers panel. So I've built a couple quick sections here in my sandbox site so we can get some demos going. So layers panel. If you're a circle member, depending on the level you're at, you may have already experimented with some of these, so feel free to skip forward if you're just already a pro. So first, layers panel. You'll see either in desktop, also in mobile, we have this little icon floating here. So what's nice about this is a couple of things. First, you can layer things by moving them up and down. So kind of changing that z-axis. So instead of constantly having to like click, move back here, you can do that here. You can also hide things between desktop and mobile. So let me show you a good example of how I like to use this. This is why, so I have this 2-column setup. This looks great on desktop. Flip to mobile. Let's pretend like, okay, I actually don't even want to use this black block here. I can click on it. I can click the layers panel and I can hide it. It's only going to hide it on mobile because that's where I used it, in the layers panel. So let me go back. So great. We don't have that black box here anymore. I can start adjusting as I usually would. But something that's always bugged me is when I have some 2-column text, it just like doesn't, look good on mobile. So what I've started doing is going back to desktop. I'll duplicate the first one, add all the text to the second one. Obviously, this looks like a little crazy and messy right now, but take this one. I want this one to show on mobile. So I'm going to hide it. And you can, again, like move it around to wherever you want. Let me just like bring it to the front. I'm going to hide it on desktop. But over on mobile, I'm going to hide the 2 smaller columns so that I can just use this one I created so it looks better. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically, you can hide and show stuff between, desktop and mobile, which is great. We love that. Okay, moving on. Next thing, I'm still kind of playing around with this one, but we can now choose with some blocks, we can choose if we want to push the styles or the changes to desktop from the mobile editor. So let me come back in here. Let me actually unhide my shape. This is going to be an easy one for me to play around with. So let's say we did keep this shape and maybe, I don't know, do something like this. All right. So a couple of things I've noticed we can do. So on this shape block, let's say on mobile, for whatever reason, I want it to be teal and I want it to be a circle. You'll see that as I'm doing that, this obviously, like, I wouldn't do this, but just for an example, as you make those changes, you're going to start seeing this icon here. If you click on that, you can choose to push to desktop or not. So if you don't push to desktop, this is going to stay just on mobile. You can also reset all overrides if you feel like you've done too much. But if I flip over to desktop, you'll see that the square is still there. It's still black. We don't have that circle. I'm still kind of playing around with exactly where we can apply these. I tried it with changing an image on mobile. You don't get that icon. So I think image has to stay the same on both. So there are certain places this applies, and I'm still kind of figuring out exactly where, but it could be very useful. For example, one thing I come across a lot is the button. So let's say actually on desktop, I find that more on desktop. Has anybody else been having this glitch where you just like click on the page and everything goes crazy? Drives me insane. Okay, sometimes on mobile or desktop, I might want to do a fit button. It obviously looks crazy in this case, but just for example. But then over here on mobile, I'm like, no, I want it to be full width. And you can see it actually already kind of did it for me, but let's pretend it didn't. So let's say it was all fit. I can change it to fill. And again, I can choose whether to push that to desktop or not. So again, this one, still figuring out exactly what all it applies to, but it is cool to have that option to be able to not push all changes to desktop. Okay, next one, let's hop back over to desktop. They're calling this stacks. I think this seems like it was released too early for me. It doesn't do a lot, but you can now highlight a group of things. We've been able to move these for a long time together. We've been able to duplicate them for a long time together. The only new thing here, to my knowledge, is that we can now align groups of things. Definitely useful, not saying that it's not, but I would love to be able to actually group these like you can in, Illustrator or something like that. So we're still missing that as far as I know, but we can align things, which is cool. Okay, this next one is pretty complex. Again, if you're a circle member with I think this was like gold or above, got access to these animations. So you can now animate, I think, any block. I'm not sure if it's every single one, but definitely most blocks. So let's just do the shape because that kind of makes the most sense to me. So you're going to go into your settings, go into animations, and you need to push plus by the trigger. Now this can get I really encourage you to come in here and play around with this because we could do a whole video for like an hour on this. But let's say, so you're going to choose your trigger. So on hover, on press, loop, like meaning it would keep going, etc. I'm going to do on scroll, and depending on what you choose, it actually gives you slightly different options. So you'll kind of notice that too. Okay, so let's say I want to do it on scroll, and let's say I want it to drop in. Okay, so we kind of get a preview there. But then you can click these little, what are these little guys called? But basically you can come in here and edit within that icon. You can choose your starting point. So let's say you can change the opacity, the rotation, the skew, everything. So they actually added this kind of Photoshop feature where you can click and drag, which is great. I love that. So we can choose, let's say I wanted to skew it to start and I want to end it, I don't know, skewed the other way and whatever, and rotated. You can choose your timing. So this gets a little confusing in my brain, but it's like when this block passes this point on the screen, this is all a little confusing to me, to be honest with you. I've been trying to play around with it. I think they could have made this a bit more clear. You can also fully do it custom, which gets even more insane. So again, really highly, suggest getting in here and playing around with it. But to preview this, oh my gosh, and of course it didn't save it. That's crazy. Oh, scroll to preview. Okay, so show me. Obviously that's not working, and I don't know why. I've done this all morning. Okay, let's go back. Let's do drop. Drop, I say. Come into here, and you can scroll and you can start previewing it. So here's the preview of it as of now, which is kind of cool because you can see it coming down from above. Okay, and then you can go back in and play around with all the stuff I did. I'm not sure what I did wrong to make it the preview stop, but you can get crazy with these animations. You can do the same with buttons, photos, anything. So button, we could come in here and we could say we want it to grow on hover. That's a pretty simple and normal one. This is something we had to do with CSS for a long time, and now we can just do it here. After that, let's get into actually block transformation. So a bit different. So animation is actually kind of the settings are a little bit similar to animation. So go back over to design. Let's say I want to transform, I don't know, let's actually do the photo. Go to design, scroll down. You can change again, here's kind of your scroller. You can change the opacity. You can change the rotation. Let's say you wanted it slightly tilted and skewed for whatever reason. So again, these get pretty complex. You can play around with that, but still cool. You can do that with shapes. You can do it with images, several of the different blocks. Okay, another new feature. This one is completely new to my knowledge. You can right click within a section and you'll get some quick actions, kind of those most common. You can also right click on a block and it gives you options that are more feasible for that one. So this is nice. You can actually choose here, hide on mobile, hide on desktop. I feel like that's a bit hidden because as I was trying to figure out, how to push things to and from desktop, this actually makes it so much easier. So that's the coolest part about this right click. Okay, last thing, if you are a circle member, you may have already experimented with this, but we can now upload custom fonts. So come over to font styles. I find this to be slightly weirdly hidden as well, but come into where you want to change your font. So let's say you want to change your heading font and you're selecting it, it's here is where you're uploading it. I just feel like it could be in a more obvious place, but that's where it's at. I have an entire post on that linked in this tutorial, but yeah, that is great instead of having to do that with code as well. Okay, this was a bit long, but this is a really cool update. So hope you guys enjoy. Get in there and play around with it because it's pretty complex, but there's some cool stuff.